Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Gaia's Deadliest Weasel, or the Book of Hungry Names, as it's also known as. I'm Huddy. Hello. Happy Friday, everybody. Yes, we're back. I actually managed to do 2 days in a row. Usually I have to skip out on one day for one reason or another, but I'm here. Everyone praise me. No, don't. I'm just kidding. Last time on Book of Hungry Names, we punched our landlord in the nose, and that ended up getting our landlord killed, getting our house blown up, and getting us shot. So that was fun and totally rational and total normal reaction to punching our landlord in the nose. Then we lost our wolf while we were fighting Moth Fomori, which is also just my luck. And so our packmate, our Silverfang, Philodox Melody, had to take the brunt of the damage, but she's a trooper and she handled it pretty well. And we flooded this, I can't remember what it was. It was like a foundry of some kind. We flooded it, so yay for us. But then as we were gathering together with our packmates having dinner, we learned that not only was the forest where, a lot of our power is drawn from is under attack, but also the sort of rural alleyway areas that, like, for example, our Bonar packmate relies on is under attack. And some of our human friends, allies are also under attack. So we had to make a choice. Stormcat told us, don't split the party. I don't listen to anyone but my brainworms, and my brainworm said, split the party. So we split the party. So it's me, Nin, and Elton fighting developers in the forest, while Melody is off helping our human allies, and Podge is helping those of us, though our allies' spirits in the alleyway. So it can only go really, really well. Yeah, worms. Yeah, exactly. My brain worms with a Y. Just be sure to take Sierra as a reference as to what not to do as a werewolf. That's why I'm doing this, Jerry. I'm making this Let's Play to show you how not to play this game so you can play it the correct way and make regular, logical decisions, which I'd never ever do. Nothing bad has ever happened from splitting the party, no. As an avid storyteller myself, I can tell you that I always encourage my players to split the party because nothing of import or no excitement, nothing happens. It's just a regular, everyone just goes on a picnic. Don't split the party. I heard split the party, yeah. The only part of that I heard was split the party, and so I did. Yeah, so, let's see what happens. And that's what I do. Just to see what happens is my motto. Anyway, here we go. Once when Broadbrook was strong, the spirits never would have permitted this intrusion. Defiant guardians of Gaia's last sacred places, they could have turned humans away with subtle misdirection before the Garu and their rage turned the forest into an abattoir, which is a fancy word for a slaughterhouse, I learned not that long ago. Now they are diminished, but not powerless, and not mute either for those who can hear. As Elton quietly contacts them, you close your eyes and listen to their fears. Spirits of wood and running water awaken and speak to one another, gaining strength and reassurance from your willingness to hear them. You would never be able to hear so clearly anywhere else, at least not without a gift, but this close to the defiled heart of Broadbrook, the spirits are almost strong enough to manifest. And equally important, here they're strong enough to communicate in a way you can understand. The stone spirits feel the weight of the earth movers, and they relay their locations and positions in a way mere physical scouting could not. You can feel the layout of this incursion, how it intends to move, and its weaknesses. The north, the spirits tell you, a great spirit of winter is battling the machine spirits of the invaders in that direction, and even in this physical plane, the northern edge of the incursion is vulnerable. Good. That's when you and the Theurge hear a heated argument. You freeze when you hear the voice of Roland, one of the cultists. Awesome. Even though the tinny quality tells you it's coming over a phone cranked to max volume. Of the worm, he's saying. It's of the world, Roland, Heinrich says. You need to be smart. We need human allies, and they need a place to live. Do you think we'd wave a wand and mushroom houses would spring up out of the ground? You're clear-cutting the fucking forest, Roland's voice squawks out of the phone. You catch a glimpse of Heinrich followed by the big cultist Vindlerson, but you see no more than shadows. Oh, that's right. So the people who are doing this are the Cult of Fenris. Yay, my favorite. We're giving our people room to breathe and grow, Heinrich says, his voice cool and professional, like he's reading from a GRC media statement. Our work is to create a human population that can weather the age of the apocalypse. This is where they'll live, close to the heart of our power. Eater of Names chose this land because it's secure. He had the same idea we did. Doesn't that fucking tell you something? Roland shouts. These woods are sacred. I've been looking into our finances, bro. And are you sure you know where our funding is coming from? Heinrich laughs. Oh, you're looking into finances, Roland, you fucking that word, which I'm not going to say out loud. You can't figure out PayPal. Why don't you leave me to handle the actual planning? You need to get down here in case Broadbrook's leftovers show up and try to pick a fight. No, listen, you're fucking weak, Roland, Heinrich says. Go pray to some trees. Let the rest of us do what Fenris put us on Earth to do. That's not Fenris you're talking to, Heinrich, Roland screams, his voice fuzzing out over the bad connection. You're serving the W. And we all know what word he was going to say. That's one of my... Okay, I have to stop. That's one of my favorite things about the Cult of Fenris, is that they're so obviously following a corrupted spirit. They're so obviously following the worm, and they're so, like, arrogant and up their own butts that they absolutely refuse to see it. It's one of my... In my Werewolf Chronicle, they are absolutely the main antagonist, and it's one of my favorite things to play up about them. I'm serving my people, he says. You're not sure if he's reassuring Vindlerson or himself. Then he turns to a foreman. Light it up. The earth movers rumble to life. Oh, it's time to kill some machines. You haven't seen any harvesters for the lumber. This is a purely destructive operation, a sword aimed at Gaia's heart. The dozers rumble to life. Neo-Albion soldiers move into position, but from the phone and radio chatter, their number one fear seems to be the pressing catch of wind. Seems to be the press catching wind of this operation, not a werewolf attack. Elton hasn't left his rock, and you smell ozone as he prepares a 11-bolt against the largest earth mover. Targeting the machinery and the workers is your easiest path to victory here. The workers aren't fanatics sworn to the worm. Neo-Albion is tougher, but clearing out the guards will let Elton concentrate on calling down the spirits to attack the invaders. Heinrich has vanished deeper into the woods, angrily texting. If you're lucky, he won't get back here in time. Or there's Vindlerson. You saw what happened when Elton fought a cultist, and Heinrich was only a Philodox, not a full moon. But you can see Nin creeping towards the distracted Arun cultist, fur bristling as she prepares to shift into her direwolf form. Fighting a berserker is a hell of a risk, but Gaia would be happier without Vindlerson breathing her air. That's so valid. Oh, I forgot I have throwing knives. Didn't I take dots in throwing knives? I don't know what that skill is. I know I have this memory, and it could be a wrong memory of learning how to throw knives from one of our people. Combat? I don't know. I could throw knives. I did that before at Hog Throne, and I stopped the Cult of Fenris by throwing knives at them, and I kind of want to see if it works for me again. So we could join the worm, pardon my bad. So what you're saying is we could join the worm. W is clearly going to be wild, yeah. I do argue that vampires are far more of the Weaver. Yeah. AIM, right. Thank you, Jerry. AIM. All right, I did do some training in that. I am in agreement that I have this weird like idea of vampirism in the sense where I think they're mostly of the Weaver. However, this is just me. This is not anything canon or whatever. This is just my personal opinion. I believe that, for example, the power of oblivion comes from the same thing that comes from the worm, comes from the same thing that powers the worm, this sort of primordial force of decay. So I believe that, like, for example, the Hecata, or maybe even to an extent the Lasombra, what they draw their power from, or any vampire that draws their power from that particular force, is closer to the worm than the Weaver. That's just me, though. That's my personal headcanon. Oh, I could wax poetic about vampire all day. Let's throw knives. Let's do it. David Beninsky's paper-thin throwing knives seem like they couldn't touch the huge cultist, but you've seen them glide through flesh. You draw two. As Nin approaches the cultist in her direwolf form, he roars and transforms into his monstrous Krynos form. The reaction of Neo-Albion is instantaneous, wild, insane terror as the delirium consumes them. Soldiers and workers flee the confrontation. You take dead aim at Vindlerson's enormous shaggy back and flick the first knife. Somehow he dodges, twisting like the wind so the knife flies past him and buries itself in a tree trunk. That must be one of his full moon gifts. Must be. He howls and charges you, and your next throw goes wide. Great. As his claws reach for you, Nin leaps, but the bleeding cultist slaps her out of the air, then slashes your arm as you draw another blade. Knives tumble everywhere. He raises his claw to finish you off, but Nin leaps for him. Whoopsies. He catches the huge direwolf in midair and slams her to the ground, breaking a foreleg. No. Nin yowls in pain as Vindlerson grabs her again, then flings her into you. It's only a glancing blow, but it fouls another throw, and Nin lands badly. I must have rolled like garbage. Blood leaking from a fractured jaw. And now those Neo-Albion guards who have retained their sanity are closing in, armed with revolvers of their own. You've done significant damage to this operation, but even the three of you can't face this mercenary army. Oh man, I fucked it up. That's all it took. I fucked it up once. Good God, I'm the best. Why do they still have me around? Why don't they exile me? Fall back, Elton says. Limping a little now, Nin charges Vindlerson again, but it's just a feint, buying the rest of you time to retreat. The cultists chase after her, smashing through the woods. Oh, I fucked up. Oh, I fucked up. You might steal that take on Oblivion? Steal it. Take it. Take it from me. Take it and run. The operation in the wilderness is massive. The air stinks of gasoline and wood fires, and the ground shakes as earth movers rip into ancient trees. Neo-Albion security hems the sight. Lights illuminate acre after acre of forest, and you'd be a fool to approach. That's me, in case they're ready for werewolves. But you can see workers on the periphery. Your pack is tired, but you could pick off a few of them. Make the news as animal attacks during illicit development operation. Yep. Let's do it. I'm mad now because I fucked up. So let's kill a few and slow down their operation. Let's do it. Let's do it. As if waiting for your signal, Nin races into the ranks of workers as they fight with their stuck van just at the edge of the artificial lighting. 4 men die in her jaws. She crushes 2 more. The huge wolf is gone before Neo-Albion gets flashlights on the corpses. So are you, because that attack just shook them to the core. You idly wonder if you should test your luck by attacking the guards, but your companions are exhausted and, of greater concern, lost in thought about everything else that's happened tonight. They lack the focus to fight another major battle. Your pack's sudden arrival has slowed down the operation, but you can't stop it, at least not tonight. Damn! Nin vanished after her attack on the van. She is, Elton tells you, pushing as close as she can to the defiled cairn to see if anything is coming out. That leaves you and Elton to placate the wood spirits. While Elton handles various minor spirits, glade children, and the little Natore of earth and snow, you're drafted into the terrifying work of calming the gods. Even Unicorn, patron of the children of Gaia, is angry at this intrusion. Then do something. And the forest howls with the anger of even more terrible powers. Man-killing, that's a word, Maracinonics, yep, and bloodthirsty Gorgon shake the skies in their fury. The great stag hammers the earth, demanding to avenge this insult to his land. And the winter winds manifest to shout their wrath and their hunger for blood. As a Garu, you remind them of their oaths and contracts with the moon and the earth, and remind them that none of them are permitted to manifest, even after such an insult as this one. It's dawn by the time you calm them all. Arev, the sun god of this land, rises to regard the devastation. I'd let them manifest, if I had the choice, because I'm me. Why don't they exile me? The entire WoD fan base botching a roll, yep. Honestly, that was such a botch, they should just kick me out and the game should end. Eater of Names has finally started to act. Oh, no, sorry, it's Elton talking. Eater of Names has finally started to act, Elton says. 1 black spiral dancer in a stolen body, and we barely survived. Yep, because I am of no help. I'm a hindrance, really. It's dawn, after a long night spent placating the spirits of the forest. Your spirit feels hollow, your face alternately hot and cold after looking into the faces of the gods. Just got a text from Marlon, Melody says. Marlon is that podcaster who helps Roscoe at Hogthrone. Hoblin and Roscoe have been arrested. Lucinda and I are going to see what we can do for them. The Philodox looks hollowed out. Her hair is a snarled bird's nest, her eyes shadowed, and she's wearing only one of Elton's old coats as she eats a breakfast of oatmeal with maple syrup she dug out of the Theurge's increasingly barren cupboards. Podge doesn't look much better. He has his laptop open on his knees as he reads news reports about Rosemary Street. Well, didn't you guys go? I split the party for you guys to go and handle that. Are you saying that you botched your roles as well? Is that what you're trying to tell me? A lot of people hurt, he mutters. Dozens of arrests. ICE is moving through the apartments right now. The only good news is that things were bad enough that we might get news coverage. I'm sorry, Patrick, Elton says, and I'm sorry about the spirits. Rat is angry, Podge says. This was a two-pronged attack, the cops in the physical world and an army of Banes in the Umbra. The patrons and other spirits affiliated with the Garu are okay, but the Banes took a horrible toll on the Urban Natore and the little machine spirits. And a lot of the vermin spirits have turned to the worm. Rat doesn't know if Rosemary Street will ever heal. Speaking of the Umbra, Melody asks, where is Nin? Monitoring the invasion of the forest, Elton says. Work has stopped thanks to our intervention, but that's only temporary. We've already lost a chunk of land, and Nin wants to make sure they don't lose any more. Elton sighs, sets his coffee cup aside. We're overwhelmed. We couldn't protect the forest. Rosemary Street suffered massive damage, and we don't know where Roscoe and Hobland are. Now there just aren't enough of us to fight back. I'm increasingly convinced that Eater of Names is in control of every enemy we face, from Neo-Albion and the Cult of Fenris to Lesser Banes to whatever the answering tiger is. They might not even realize he's controlling them, but he is. But we can't reach him, and we don't have the spiritual power, human support, or political capital to fight against all his allies at once. We're in deep doo-doo. I don't want to talk about Daphne. Well, because she's probably also bad news bears. We can't hide in the woods and pray to the ancestors. Our human allies, everyone from Lucinda to sympathetic journalists like Nomi, are our best weapons against the worm. Maybe. We need to destroy the Cult of Fenris. Well, obviously. Huvud development is the most serious threat to all of us. They need to go. I think Daphne is not... Maybe, I don't know. Alright, we should probably help some of the humans. Because they really are the best enemy weapon. Maybe not, I don't know. Best weapon against the worm. Are they, though? Maybe. I don't know. Alright. The Umbra is in chaos, Elton says. We should concentrate on... No, Podge says. We don't have enough allies in meat space. We've rebuilt our relationships with the spirits as well as we can. We've contacted the patrons. Melody did all that work, cleaning up the temple. What we don't have anymore is the three families. Though, good. Thank you, Podge. Thank you, Podge. Elton scoffs. The local shadow lords were always skeptical of the virtues of the three families, but Melody says, we can't bring the families back, but we have to find human allies. Eater of Names just overplayed his hand. Helicopters all night, a police riot in the street behind Walmart, and illegal clear-cutting all in one night. That was illegal, right? The attack on the woods? She asks Podge. I've checked and checked, Podge says, and Huvud Development had no authority whatsoever to start cutting down the forest. By Massachusetts law, an official forest cutting plan... Elton loves these kind of details, but Melody waves for the Arun to stop and says, this is too much for regular people to tolerate. We can get them on our side, expose Huvud Development in the press, attack Neo-Albion. The town's full of granola-crunching liberals, Elton. Liberals? They don't want armed mercenaries guarding a clear-cutting operation with links to a fascist settlement program. Maybe you're right, Elton says. I know some professors at Smith and UMass. I'm going to reach out to some people. Be careful, Podge says with a faint snarl, reading his laptop. Make sure that none of those professors know Daphne Cleo. Elton frowns. I know she's been oddly silent since Esther's restaurant, the Thayard says, but we still don't know. Hampshire County breaks ground on new green security complex, Podge reads. What? Elton says. GRC Media, half an hour ago, Podge says. That Huvud development operation in the woods? The one Nin is still scouting? Do you know what it is? Everyone's phones boop as Podge sends the GRC Media article. It's a fucking prison, the Arun says. That's what they're going to build on the statue of Unicorn. How do we not know more about this? Melody says, studying the rendering of the proposed 100% renewable-powered corrections facility. Because Daphne Clea didn't want us to know, Podge snarls. I knew we couldn't trust her. How long has she known about this? GRC Media mostly just posts environmental news bulletins, Elton says. This was probably posted automatically. There's not even anything here about our intervention. It was probably written weeks ago and sent to GRC for distribution. Why are you defending her? Podge shouts, jumping to his feet. Elton does not rise. He finishes his coffee, sets it aside, waits just long enough that Podge feels like a fool. Sorry, Podge tells Melody, who looks like she hasn't slept in days. He sits back down. On the contrary, Elton says, I can't prove it, but I think Miss Clear is connected to all of this. She's been secretive and strange, and of course, the surgical tools Nin and Sierra found while they were investigating Scarper. I traced them. Actually, I should say, Vahan. Just say thunder, Elton. You're so extra. The storm cat and a flock of storm crows trace them to a defunct die casting company that I recently learned also helped build the drone's prison at Everlight HQ. Miss Clear is at best fundamentally compromised. At worst, she's a willing servant of Eater of Names. So, Melody says, her voice a whisper. Are we going to kill her? I'm down to attempt to try. Maybe we'll help the humans. Riots behind Walmart are nothing new. No breaches here. No. That's perfectly normal. It's really funny. It's really funny because this takes place in Massachusetts, and that's where I'm from the Boston area. And like when me growing up, like a Walmart was just a thing. That was like out in Oklahoma. Like it wasn't even a thing that I ever associated with the place I grew up in. But they've mentioned Walmart quite a few times here. And I think in the beginning of the game, you start off in like Western New York, and there's Walmarts there. So since I moved away from the States over 10 years, well, I moved away from Massachusetts when I was 19, so a lot longer than 10 years ago. There must be Walmarts freaking everywhere now. I guess is the point of, to make a long story long, I guess they're everywhere now. After several moments of silence, Elton says, I don't know much about Spida as Podge does, but is this sort of conversation we can have? But is this a sort of conversation we can have while holding our powered-up electronic devices? Podge reaches into his ragged coat, and your owl eyes catch a flicker of power. I want to keep us away from our devices as much as possible until this matter is settled, Podge says. His tone is suddenly brusque and professional. For a moment, you see the keen-eyed security officer under that ragged exterior. I've spoken with Spida using the old computer at Rosemary Street. Rat and Spida work together sometimes, and I've made sure that no other Garu can eavesdrop on us electronically for a few minutes. But that won't last forever, so let's make plans. After another long pause, Elton says, I don't have as much stomach for assassination as I did when I was younger. Maybe Nin is rubbing off on me, or... You are, I swear to God, the worst Shadow Lord in the whole world, Melody says. I remember when that silent strider came through town whispering about the fall of owl-headed Horus and the rise of Apophis. Yeah, that's the giant Egyptian snake. Apophis, the great serpent. Jane Lucci killed him that night, then burned all the snake spirits he'd turned to the worm. Never trust a silent strider who's into that Egypt shit, Holds the Dawn's shade says, though Melody doesn't seem to hear her. All the Garu are dead, Elton says, raising his voice just a little. It's us four, Nin, assuming she's okay, and Daphne. Everyone else is gone. The Beaver Pack is no more, except for Sierra. That was our name, the Beaver Pack? Oh, God, that sounds about right. Neo Albion killed the Deer Cross Pack. Patrick hasn't heard anything out of Boston since the Battle of Graves Farm, and Cape Cod is as silent as a tomb. Wasn't there supposed to be a king of all Garu up in Vermont? Where is he? I haven't heard anything north of Broadbrook for years. We're all that's left, Melody. And unless you're a black spiral dancer, death is final. Melody leans forward and says, Who says Daphne is even Garu? Are we sure Spider even knows her name anymore? Or does she belong to that thing in the cairn? The answering tiger. Christ. Pentex, oh yeah, Walmart is everywhere. Pentex holds Walmart. Okay, so when I grew up in Massachusetts, I lived there till I was 19. I'm trying to think how freaking old I am. So I lived there until like 2007, right? That's from 1988 to 2007 is how long I lived in Massachusetts. There was never a Walmart growing up where I think like right around the time I moved, we got our first Target. So, and I don't really remember going to Target either. But then I moved down to the southern part of the United States, or southeast part of the United States, and there were Walmarts everywhere. I think there were 3 Walmarts in a 25-mile radius of where I lived. So it's, to me, I always associate Walmart with like the South or maybe the Midwest. But I moved away from the United States in 2013 and is now 2024. So I have no idea of how prolific Walmart is now. All over the country. I will absolutely take your word for it, and I absolutely agree that Pentex owns Walmart. Okay, what we have against Daphne is considerable but circumstantial. There's some key we're missing. Why is she doing this? Come on, let Sierra be smart for 5 seconds before we all start fighting. Who cares, Podge says. I'm not fretting about why Heinrich is a fucking Nazi. Maybe his daddy didn't hug him enough. Who gives a shit? I mean, that's a good point. You know what? When you're right, you're right. You can't argue with that. No, it's not like that, Elton says, picking up on what you're saying. By now, all of us who survived the Battle of Graves Farm have accepted that we fought one another as much as we fought Ida of Names and his Fomori. But everything we know, I mean everything, Melody says, points to Daphne. I'm not saying that we're misunderstanding or that we've been blinded by rage, Elton says. I'm saying that Daphne is blind. Or at least she might be so deep into despair and spiritual confusion that she can't even see what she's doing. But what if we can help her? We lost last time and we killed each other. What if we can win with Daphne? Don't we deserve a chance to try? Podge and Melody both look like they want to argue, but they also look like they're about to collapse from exhaustion. Look, Elton says, I'm not saying this won't end in blood. Even if Daphne is a victim, well, David Beninsky was a victim, and I don't shed tears for him. But right now we need to rest, and tomorrow we need to see who we've lost, what can be rebuilt after this attack, and what can't. Maybe the day after that we can think about killing one of our own. Yes, I have no idea if there's Walmart other. There was a Walmart here once before I moved to where I live in Germany, because there was a American military base in the city that I live in. But it failed spectacularly, in such a spectacular fashion, that to this day, if you talk to people who have lived in the city from at least like 2000 onward, they will stop. If you bring up the Walmart that used to be here, they will stop and tell you the story of the Walmart that used to be here and will laugh about it to this day. It so spectacularly did it fail. It just does not work with Germans. A knock on the door makes everyone jump. Melody spills her coffee and swears. Bloody hell, I forgot, Elton says, lurching to his feet. It's 8 o'clock. I have a meeting with an antiques dealer. You look around Elton's increasingly empty flat. The tapestries are all gone now, and the Kazakh rug probably only remains because it was Catherine's. The only books left are key reference texts or occult tomes that Elton can't let out of his sight. You're sitting next to Melody on a green sofa that's probably an antique. Speaking of Melody, she's naked except for a black coat, wool socks, and one earring. The rest of you don't look any more presentable. Out the back, Elton tells you, running into the bathroom to wash. You grab laptops and phones, then slip out the back door, which actually leads to the mini mall, and spend a few minutes in a storage room making sure everyone grabbed enough clothes to look respectable on the way home. You and Podge have to take the bus up to the Beninsky estate. Nin is there when you get in, curled up in lupus form on the downstairs couch, apparently unharmed and sleeping the sleep of the righteous. Podge drags himself upstairs. You have plans, but your eyes keep going to the pile of blankets next to the couch near the old radiator. You sit down just for a second next to Nin and then immediately fall asleep. Stag is displeased with the harm that's befallen your fellow Garu, so you spend several nights meditating before the Red Bowl. Yeah, well, Stag was the only patron spirit who would take me, and I've let him down. I'm the worst. Exile me. You and Podge get together regularly, which is easy because every morning you trundle downstairs and make breakfast together. It's not, oh my god, we're talking about dating. It's not until you start dating Podge that you realize how active he is in the community. Every date, he's either coming off a shift at a food bank or getting ready to teach people how to use Narcon or in lupus form. He spends more time as a wolf than you'd thought, patrolling the 10 cities and making sure no one attacks homeless people. He tries to make sure your nights out together aren't secretly community work, though, and as a bone gnar, he knows every secret corner of the valley. You take in a secret showing of bootleg Mickey Mouse films from the 40s to the 21st century. Ugh. Those bootleg Mickey Mouse films from the 40s might be problematic, but, you know, whatever. I have something to say about that. An Iron Chef competition where the secret ingredient is fugu. It's not like blowfish poison can kill you. Something called a Nordic LARP. Boom, a sort of interactive murder mystery thing, and plenty more. The Arun works hard despite appearances, and he takes his fun time and yours very seriously. That's so sweet. I have to buy another bicycle, I just remembered now that I've seen this. I'm not happy about that at all, because I lost my bike when my house got blown up. Let's check on Daphne since we just spent an inordinate amount of time talking to her. Ooh, I coordinate with human spirits and Garu to heal the forest. Yeah, well, we can't do that because the forest is fucked right now because we're a failure. I'm being really hard on myself. It's fine. GRC Media is sealed as tight as a fortress in both this world and the Umbra. All of your companions have scouted the building exterior and turned up shockingly little information. Most of the data coming out of the GRC Media building is its own propaganda. Reports of the new green prison, still under construction despite delays. Positive articles about Everlight Gas and Electric's new and ambitious director of special projects. Someone new pulled in from the West Coast after you killed the last few. And self-congratulatory international business news. Hundreds of companies launder their reputations through GRC Media, giving each other environmental initiative awards and boasting about reaching full renewable status by 2030, 2045, 2050. Everyone has a different take on what to do with Miss Clear, from Podge's cold-blooded execution plans to Nin's arguments that the Glasswalker is so deceived by the answering tiger that she is a victim, not an aggressor. But whatever your plan for Miss Clear, GRC Media maintains such effective message, discipline, and security that you'll need to lure Miss Clear out to you, rather than try to bash your way in through the front door. Oh, why? And before you move against GRC Media, you'll want to find out what happened to Hobland and Roscoe and see how much damage the prison construction has done to the forest. Hooray! Okay. Well, on that note, Hobland, how is he? Can we save him? Can we help him? Since Hobland is Melody's great uncle or her nephew twice removed or something, you ask her when she visits the Beninsky estate because she needs Podge's help to fix her laptop. We got him out of town, the Philodoc says. We only got the chance because my mom's high school science teacher's son works at the morgue. Your stepfather twice removed. And he used to date Lucinda back when Lucinda babysat my sister. God, Jesus. Please meet other people. You don't have to remember all this, Sierra. You don't have to write it down. Thank Gaia. Anyway, after the Rosemary Street riot, there was basically no security, Melody says. So we swapped a live body, Hobland's, for someone who died on Rosemary Street, and I had Reggie fake the name. Hobland is now legally dead, and we were able to get him out of town. Can he ever come back home, you ask? Not yet, Melody says. We have too many enemies right now, Podge says. I'd like to deal with either Daphne Cleo or the Cult of Fenris or whatever the hell's going on at Chemicon or some other looming disaster. But after that, I know some forgers down in Holyoke. Real professionals. They can put together new identification for Hobland. But it'll cost us. If we can each raise a couple... You guys don't have jobs. Only I have a job, and Elton. If we can raise a couple $100, Melody says, we should be able to get Hobland back. Of course, Podge says, Neo Albion isn't 100% stupid. They'll realize something is up, even if they can't track Hobland down again. Great. Great. Alright. How about Roscoe, then? Since Nin is closest to the concert promoter, you ask her the next time you see her. He's out, hiding, Nin says. I had to get him to safety. But can he ever come back, you ask? Not yet, Nin says. Okay, so literally Podge is going to say the exact same thing he said just 2 seconds ago. For him, we have to offer 3 nights of chiminage to get him back. Okay. Napkin math. All right. So, chiminage to get him back. Okay. Cool. Alright, let's check on Rosemary Street then. Let's do that. You feel the churning umbral nightmare around Rosemary Street before you can even see it. The Banes that attacked the slum gods ultimately lost and were forced to retreat, but they caused tremendous psychic damage. Countless godlings and street spirits perished in the fighting or went mad and had to be destroyed. The patron spirits have retreated to their idols to brood on the carnage with no immediate plans to rebuild or to offer their spirit allies to Garu. You speak with the slum gods, and after extensive and difficult negotiations with Rat, Spider, and that word, Simur, you think that if each of you offers, 4 nights of wisdom chiminage, you should be able to restore the spirit wilds around Rosemary Street. That's an extraordinary demand, but the gods suffered terribly. I regret ever channeling chiminage into this place privately on my own, because obviously it meant nothing. Though they are too proud to admit it, and they need the primal vitality of the Garu to thrive again. The physical street also suffered a staggering level of damage. Some buildings have been entirely destroyed, the tent city is gone and won't return, and over a dozen people died in the fighting. The Noodle Lady was one of them. Oh no! The police beat her to death and burned her shop. Jesus! That's awful. Oh. Despite the spiritual victory, the attitude of the locals is despondent. No way! Maybe the gods could work miracles once, but now people need cash to rebuild. You also find out what happened to Lucinda after the takeover of her arts and industry building. She and some of her fellow creatives are trying to relocate an abandoned garage on Rosemary Street next to the ghost kitchen that burned down. But the place is a wreck. It'll cost money to fix. And gangs, emboldened by the police riot and the cult of Fenris, are demanding protection money. Rebuilding Rosemary Street, getting Lucinda resettled, reopening the antique store, and cleaning up the wreckage will also require you to teach the locals how to organize and rebuild. That will require both money and time, and the scars will linger for years. Amazing. Let's go check the forest. Kill me now. Local news sites are abuzz with information about the proposed green prison. The project is in political and economic limbo as protesters, politicians, and those who stand to profit from its construction argue, protest, and take to Twitter. It's not called that anymore. Although I don't know anyone who legitimately calls it X. And local news get their side heard. The cult, which has only one weapon, can't move forward without massacring a bunch of civilians in a way that will draw attention to their activities and, not to put too fine a point on it, require your pack and your spirit allies to destroy them at any cost. That's what you can learn without a visit. You make notes of the online activity, then coordinate with Nin to explore the forest itself. The devastation is horrible. Huddy Development's operation is halted, but their vehicles and security are still there. A rancid stain at the edge of the forest, surrounded by fallen trees, armed guards, Neo Albion, local police raking in overtime, and armed men of unclear affiliation who are probably associated with the cult of Fenris patrol the woods and monitor the omnipresent protest. People want them gone, but the will of the people, it seems, isn't enough. The Umbra has the desolate feeling of a battlefield the morning after. The local spirits drove off a Bane incursion after you fought the developers, and though they won, it cost them. They're licking their wounds now, and the dark spirits are still out there waiting for any signs of weakness. Until the physical and spiritual landscape is restored, neither you nor the other Garu can benefit from the forest's power. Yay! This is all really awesome! Can I buy a bicycle again? Can I have that back? The place in Hadley doesn't have any sales, so you're stuck searching Craigslist until you're finally able to pick up a heavily used road bike. It rides okay after you take it in for a tune-up. Hooray, I have a bike again. I'm so lucky. How much money do I have? Really quick, let me just check. Ooh, I have $1,000 in my bank account, baby. Yeah. All right, let's check all my emails because I'm good. Ooh, Nin sent me an email. That one first, please. Why is she writing so well? Hello, Sierra. I hope this email finds you well. It is a bright sunny day today, and I can hear the creaking of the trees as I type. I am here to inform you of good news, that the Bane we destroyed in the forest, the one you first encountered as a horse, and that you encountered next as a deer with a beard of dangling baby arms, what strange things I write, was one of the chief lieutenants or lieutenant chiefs maybe of Eater of Names. He was called this word, Tekkenjat. He who seizes the tendons, ? In one of the now extinct dialects of Abenaki, once spoken here, and his work for Eater of Names was to carry out several different plans to resurrect him. The lances and the death of your pack leader Clay were part of one such plan. Great. Our permanent destruction of him has brought great glory to you, me, and Whippoorwill, if you care about such things. However, Azaban, the raccoon god, tells me that Eater of Names also has another great Bane servant, in addition to the answering tiger, one that stymied Broadbrook when it was strong. I have only found the name Kamad for him, and I'm not sure if it is Abenaki or Hebrew or some other language. But Kamad is said to have power over the moon and to have defiled the Connecticut River in some way I cannot understand. He is much stronger than Tekkenjat, who is perhaps only his messenger or errand boy. I will try to learn more about Kamad. Thanks, Nin. You're the best. I love you so much. Pentmart or Wormmart. BSD and Little Vest checking receipts. I close my eyes and try and picture what it was like to be in a wall. I've forgotten. It's been over a decade. I have totally forgotten. Alright, let's check Elton's email, which I'm sure is going to be much longer. Oh, no. Hello, Sierra. Congratulations on your investigation of the Mountain Street Scientific Site with Melody. Thanks. We killed moth people. It was creepy and gross. I wanted to describe my own investigations at the time. Unfortunately, I fear they're less impressive than what you were able to find. Armed with a false identity and a rather poor imitation of an American accent, I was able to infiltrate a construction site in East Hampton. There, Hoover Development is building a base of operations for Neo Albion. When finished, it will be a major secure facility. major security facility, perhaps. I was also able to identify a farmhouse on the site that was once owned by the Lubiask family. I believe that someone in either Neo-Albion or the Cult of Fenris chose that site for the Neo-Albion fortress for geomantic or ritual reasons, but I was unable to enter the farmhouse and learn what was contained therein. I will continue to monitor the fortress as it's constructed. I suspect that eventually we'll have to do something about it. Elton Day. I wasn't done reading my phone. Thank you. Podge sent me an email as well, taking me out of it for no reason. This will probably be my last email for a while since I'm increasingly concerned that our networks are compromised, but I wanted to get this in text rather than just chat about it over oatmeal. While you and Nin investigated Scappa's route into the valley, I tried to learn more about the pattern line. Unfortunately, I don't think I was as successful as the rest of you. I was able to follow a digital trail to an isolated server room in the woods of East Hampton, actually not that far from that NA construction zone. It was obviously important because they set the place to blow the moment I entered. I was able to escape in time, but I recovered only a single laptop without much information on it. But from what I can understand, the pattern line was designed to guide and channel Ida of Name's soul, a bad term I know, but what else can we use, back into his body. How the hell he did that is beyond my ability to understand, as this is Black Spiral Dancer sorcery. I wouldn't touch it even if I could make sense of it, and unfortunately the trail ends there. I have a few speculative digital leads, and I'll let you know if they get me anywhere else. Podge. And news alert, Whately bar fire caused by dog deal gone bad. Oh yeah. In a double cross not seen since Satipo didn't throw the... In a double cross not since Satipo didn't throw Indy the whip, if that is an Indiana Jones reference, I'm not gonna get it. Because I've watched like the 3 original Indiana Jones movies one time, and I never watched the newer ones. So, right over my head. Violence at Esther's restaurant in Whately erupted after an unidentified man refused to exchange a luxury dog breed, me, for over $20,000 in cash. Multiple witnesses report a man drew a firearm shortly before Esther's burst into flame, killing 8 in the hideous inferno. Yeah, there was no Black Spiral Dancer there. In what witnesses call a dog deal gone bad. The state of the dog is unknown. I'm fine. Trade in luxury dog breeds from the noble Samoyed to the deplorable French bulldog. Why is it deplorable? Because of the breeding? Because they bred them to look... No, that's a pug. I have no idea what that's supposed to mean. The Paris cockroach, Jesus, have become an increasing source of criminal concern, with dog nappings reported as far away as Seattle and Lady Gaga. Why does Nomi write like this? Was the violence at Esther's restaurant part of a multi-state conspiracy of dog trafficking? Stay tuned for more. The American Kennel Club and Canadian Kennel Club refused to comment on this story before it went to press. Oh no, news of the fire has reached Nomi, and they're actually closer to understanding what happened than the real news. Okay, sure. I think it's fine. Whatever. I don't see an issue with that. I get together with Melody and ask her what she learned while I investigated Mountain Street and Scientific. Okay, Melody was with me when we went to Mountain Street Scientific, so this is an odd way to phrase this. Nin was with me when I went to Scarper's cabin, but Melody was with me when I went to Mountain Street Scientific, so I don't know why it's phrased this way, so I'm going to click on it anyway. You're not supposed to text people, but you don't want to head all the way out to the Barrows, so you head out to Lucinda's, since Elton needs you to drop off some paint for her latest Rosemary Street project. She says Melody and Nin have both been up in Leeds watching the trucks for signs that Huddy development wants to start expanding into the woods again. You bag your gear, then shift into your lupus form and follow Nin's smell to Johnny's Roadside Diner. It's all gleaming chrome and neon, a beacon in the dirty snow, and Melody and Nin are both inside. The trucks all lined up in this icy slush remind you of the speedway back home. You hurry out of the cold. You had sort of wanted to talk with Melody about everything weird that happened, but it looks like both of them are here. They fill you in. They've been monitoring Huddy Development's suppliers and subsidiary companies using Johnny's Roadside as a base of operations. They both look tired, Nin in a ragged Light of the Morning Star hoodie and Melody in a shapeless duffel coat. Huddled over their coffees among the truckers and haggard road warriors, they obviously want to talk about anything except the pile of receipts and email printouts in front of them. You order a mug of coffee, eat a few coffee and fries. Pass. Eat a few fries and consider where to begin. I'm not a werewolf, though. Everyone comfortable? Everyone have coffee? I go over the Catherine in a TV screen adventure. Yeah, I would really would love... Thank you for giving me that option. I want to talk about that so bad. Please. Please. You signal the waitress, then organize your thoughts and start to talk. You make sure to cover the entire investigation from your point of view, from the initial Langton shelter investigation all the way to Pine Island and the cabin. But you focus on your visit to Terry Klein's room at Gorski Manor and the strange conversation you had with Catherine. You focus especially on her warning that the world is shrinking, a claim that turned out to have been totally false, but that still chills you when you think about it. And you saw David Beninsky and Eater of Names, Melody says. I'm sure it was them, you say. I mean, I'm sure it appeared to be them. English is a bad language for this sort of talk, Nin says. She's polite enough not to change and employ the primal tongue here in the diner, though it actually would make conversation about spiritual conditionals easier. You give Melody and Nin some room so they can think by going to the bathroom and then swiping a half-eaten plate of scrambled eggs and bringing them back to the other Garu. When you get back, Melody is nodding. She had some ideas. You work at Gorski, so I assume you've searched the place. Top to bottom, you say. Nin already came back. Nothing. Bummer, Melody says. Okay, Nin, I'm going to want you to run down more information on the guy who died, Klein. I'll talk with Elton about his wife, which I hate doing, but it's necessary. Melody says, I also want to look into various ways to enter the Umbra, since this was obviously some kind of umbral incursion. The conversation wanders and drifts as you eat and drink. You suddenly wonder if they're going to completely forget what they plan to do. Before you came to the valley, Melody was the prisoner of a 2-bit trickster spirit, and Nin had lost the wolf so thoroughly she couldn't even shapeshift. Even now, your fellow Garu are prone to paralysis and indecision. You could push them to focus on the Klein-Catherine laptop research, though they might not like it. I die. This doesn't seem like a very ragabash. I need answers, all right? Enough. I need answers. Stop. I don't know. Doing other stuff. Give me answers to that. There's a section of this game that everyone was telling me was the WTF section, and I did the WTF section, and I hope that it's over, but now I want answers to that because it was so bizarre. The conversation keeps drifting, and you keep bringing it back until you're finally satisfied that they'll both get to work. Then you let it go because you don't want to get bit. The conversation wanders from the Resurrectionism 412 book to Podge's and Elton's adventures, then back to everything that's happened since you came to the valley. But after a few more minutes, Nin's glittering eyes peer through the big window at a trucker climbing into his rig. Is that one of the Hoovid people? Melody asks. Nin nods. Are we following? Nin and I are following, Melody says. I want you to lure off anyone who wants to follow us. You can do that. You finish your toast, then head outside and make it, toast and coffee and fries, make it obvious that you're watching the trucker. Melody and Nin pay and leave more quietly. They'll hop on at 20 miles per hour in Lupus Farm. You make a good show of not being subtle at all as the truck rolls, but no one follows you. Cool. Let's go check on Elton. The Resurrectionism notebook. Let's go check on him. See what he's doing. Oh, God. The book I'm looking for, says the blurred... Oh, no more WTF sections. Says the blurred figure, who holds out a volume similar to yours, is the one that gives the sense of the world after the end of the world. The sense that the world is the end of everything that there is in the world, that the only thing there is in the world is the end of the world. Italo Calvino, if on a winter's night a traveler. You wait for a night when Elton is at the barrow helping Melody construct additional pylons or whatever she does all day. Since it's also your day off from work, you have an entire day alone with the book. He's told you where he keeps the books. You unlock the iron-bound chest exactly the way he instructed you, take the book out of its cloth wrapping, and place it on the desk facing the ever-watchful painting of Catherine. Elton has been reading his copy of The Great Fires, a book of poetry by Jack Gilbert. It's open to Michiko Dead. You don't like the look of the scattered notes and reference material. It's as if Elton tried to read the book but couldn't stomach it for more than a few minutes. You clean up the mess, open a fresh college-ruled notebook for your own use, then open the text and read the first page. This is a book of names. They said it. They said the title. Ah, clean, elegant penmanship. Eater of Names writes with care. You feel the power of the words. So good. Oh, God. Gaia is dead and we killed her, but the names remain. Gods, rites, spirits, the religions and folkways of humanity. They linger, unreal but defiant. We who danced the black spiral knew despair when we realized this truth. My predecessor, called Breaker of Wings, labored his whole life to prevent humanity from physically escaping Gaia, to seed her again on dead worlds. And it has been my life's work to prevent humanity's thoughts from escaping into information space, to blossom again like fungi or cancer in the blank innocence of empty data. The gods know that they are empty and false. This has driven many to mad hunger as they devour the dreams and even the bodies of humans, trying to convince themselves that they are real without Gaia to provide that essential property of realness that once animated all of existence. Hiccup. But others have come to revel in their essential falsehood. This book is about one of those gods. One I have named the Answering Tiger. How he came to understand that he was already dead and what he did with that knowledge. It is also about resurrection, specifically my own plans. Knowing that I am dead and unreal, I have devised multiple ways to treat alive as a mere property, not something essential, which is something that others who dance the black spiral might find useful as they finish the work. And of course, this book is about finishing the work. Gaia is dead, but her falling body still leaves ripples in the ocean of nothingness. Only when everything is still can the world begin again, correctly this time. Yet our battle against the Garu spreads more ripples. By definition, we cannot find harmony. We can't all agree on what we want. But this book asks, what if we could? What if we could all win? What if we could all get what we want? Absurd, contradictory, paradoxical? If this world were real, yes, but it's not. It's dead. It has no more essential reality than any dream or any god. And here is the key. Any god of sufficient power can create. It has been argued that these gods only create illusions, but what we understand is that the entire world is now an illusion. There is no essential difference between the false reality conjured by a god and the corpse of Gaia we perceive as real. Our system then is to give Garu their victory within the dream or essence of a god. Even a feeble godling can capture one or two. A titan like the Answering Tiger can trap hundreds. There within the god they dream of their victory, and here in the real world that is not, we finish our work. Everybody wins. Isn't that nice? I give this book to the future. If I succeed in the great work I intend to accomplish with the Answering Tiger, it will stand as a guide to similar victories. And if I fail, it will be a guide to the next generation of Black Spiral dancers, who will no doubt show greater wisdom and foresight than I have. Hiram Vittorio Fain, Amherst, Massachusetts, April 14th, 2012. April 14th, 2012. You turn the page. Kill, open, split it, open. Jagged penmanship that cuts through the next 3 pages. A nauseating glyph, a ragged drawing, half realistic and half cartoonishly obscene of skinless foxes copulating. Gross. You flip through the next few pages, ranting gibberish, doggerel poetry, intricate glyphs, some like diseased arabesques, I don't know that word, impossibly intricate, others indistinguishable from random scrawls, and then 10 pages later, a return to the first page's meticulous handwriting, and across from it, a careful diagram of the Broadbrook pantheon, including Arev, the sun, and Solardi, the moon. Your head aches and you don't want to read anymore, but this horrible book contains the answers you need. You walk away for 5 minutes, get yourself a glass of water, study the patterns behind Catherine in the oil painting. Then you return to the text, but you can't read this thing straight through. Opening Elton's notebook, you see that he tried without success. He has 2 pages of notes, one clear and concise, the other as incoherent as the ranting in the tome. You'll need to work slowly and carefully to extract anything useful from this book of nightmares. Jeez. Okay, sure, that's me. I'm meticulous and smart and clever. That's what I'm known for. What is Eater of Names' actual goal if he believes Gaia is dead? Boom. What do you want? What do the guardians of this extinguished goddess want? Gaia is dead, but the 3 phenomena that make up the triad Weaver Wild Worm still exist. Unreal, secondary, they are mere names, mere concepts, but they hunger to act upon the world. Perhaps it's better. The next page depicts a labyrinth, oh god, surrounded by vipers with a city in the center. Above it strides a pig-headed demon named Kamod, oh no, with a black star between his eyes and an intricate suit of armor. Nin mentioned a powerful Bane called Kamod, one perhaps even greater than the first Bane you fought back in New York, the dark spirit she named Tekkenjot. Both the labyrinth and the armor are so intricately detailed that you instinctively look away. You don't want to get dragged down into some psychic trap. You flip to the back of the book where you find the continuation of the last sentence. To imagine them as ways of moving or changing, but now they only move, they only change, they only bring an end to the great corpse that was Gaia. Even the worm is useless for our work, as it too is merely a phenomenon, a perturbation in the void. We need stillness, a single moment of silence, then the cycle can start again. But you won't be still. You keep moving, twitching, death spasms. You keep trying to escape into the void. First, the fucking spaceships, my great predecessor, Breaker of Wings, managed to stop them. It wasn't easy, but now you're trapped here with us. But then the information, radio, data, internet, don't you understand what that stuff is doing? It's not reaching into outer space, it's reaching into informational space. It's going to find something or make something. There's no difference there. Something that can save you. Something that can make it linger. That can make this dead world linger. I can't let that happen. We won. Similar rants scattered like thought bubbles in an old comic book all through the book form a picture of the Black Spiral Dancer's goal. Not just to make sure Gaia, to him a fatally flawed manifestation of reality, is dead, but to make sure nothing of her escapes. From what you can understand, his predecessor, Breaker of Wings, worked to stop humans from leaving the planet. You reluctantly flip back to Kamod. Is that the name of the Black Spiral Dancer's armored suit? No, that doesn't sound right. From what you're reading, Eater of Names took the suit from his dead predecessor, Breaker of Wings. This Kamod must be some kind of other creature. You take a photo of the page and look at your own phone. Looking at that hurts less. The fallen werewolf's language is the language of infectious disease. Every last cell must be eradicated. There can be no hidden cache that survives into the new world to reinfect it. His rants indicate that he represents a kind of sect within the Black Spiral Dancers, one dedicated to containment and purgation. His task is literally to burn out all the names and signs in this world to prevent them from infecting the innocent realities beyond it. To that end, his predecessors imprisoned human sorcerers in cosmic prisons, then brought the dreams of space travel crashing down to Earth. And now, the now of 2016, when he wrote this, Eater of Names labors to destroy the information that threatens to linger even after every human, every living thing on Earth is dead. Wait, what was that about imprisoning human sorcerers? Ah, yeah, like Giselle, something happened to Giselle. You flip back to the diagram again. You think that maze is some kind of cosmic prison. Interesting. Is it interesting or is it terrifying? Exhausted and queasy, you drag yourself away from Resurrectionism 412, which you now think of as the Book of Hungry Names. Your notes sprawl across the desk and spill down onto the ground. It's 5 a.m. and the freezing winds howl outside, rattling the old building. Your eyes fall on the oil painting of Catherine above the fireplace. Have the stars moved? You've been awake reading this book for too long. The stars haven't moved. You get up, examining Lucinda's meticulous oil painting of Catherine Aslanian Day. Same blonde curls, same blue dress. Her white hands hold a purple iris, symbol of wisdom and courage. You looked it up the first time you saw the painting. The trail of the straw thief crosses behind her. Everything is in shades of blue and purple except the Theurge's head and hands. Even the stars are blue. Same old stars. You've counted every one before, but why do they draw your eye? Because, you ridiculous werewolf, the constellations have changed. Clorinda flees with a yowl as soon as I take over Tisby. Christ. Always good to see you, Stormcat, but I don't know what you mean. Those are the same stars. I didn't say the stars changed. You literally did. I said the constellations changed. Read the same sentence at the beginning of a story and the same one at the end, and they mean completely different things. When you can understand this paradox, you will know what you must do. The Stormcat's presence vanishes abruptly and Tisby falls over. You pick her up and set her on her favorite armchair, then realize it's 7 a.m. Your phone buzzes with messages. Mr. Weiss needs you in ASAP to strip carpets in preparation for a rush of new admissions. Awesome. But you make sure to tell Elton everything you experienced once you're off work. He listens carefully, takes notes, promises to run down every lead you found. He says nothing about how you've produced 5 pages of notes for every page you read. Cool. Great. I'm so happy. Alright. Let's start offering... Okay, I offer the slum gods 4 nights of wisdom chiminage. I did not see this before. Obviously, I skipped over it. Yes. Yep. Yep. I perform the chiminage, right? I only have 2 nights. Okay, hang on. Rum and clarified butter, spilled wine, and smoking incense, the urban gods of Rosemary Street are close enough to humanity that they remember the old rites. The slums crawl with self-proclaimed mystics, gutter priests, unstable hierophants, and the vile acolytes of Fenris, but few have real power, and by your estimation, none have a true understanding of the spirit courts or what they demand. While you and Podge repaint Rat's much frequented back alley idol and make sure he has plenty of butter, Elton and Nin clean the secret temple of Simurgh. Melody drags a terrified Lucinda into the computer building where they clean up the 486 until it gleams like it just rolled off an assembly line. New diskettes acquired from eBay also please Spider. Restoring those 3 central nodes of power triggers a general restoration of the spirit landscape around Rosemary Street as the patron spirits, empowered and invigorated, turn their attention to the lesser but still powerful members of their pantheon. Garu-affiliated spirits like Madame Mouse and the Scarab of Time reacquaint themselves with their spiritual obligations, while other gods and powers alien to your internal spiritual landscape reestablish their dominion and guardianship. Cool. Great. I did it. Okay. La 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 la. All right, let's see how Lucinda's doing, since we checked on the other humans. Lucinda took an unexpectedly hard hit despite being the least involved among all of you with the direct defense of Gaia. The Florence Arts and Industry building is gone when you reach it, torn down and surrounded by orange fencing. From what Owl can reveal to you, the local Umbra is a nightmare, with displaced spirits roaming like phantoms and devouring one another. The air feels rancid. People are furious for obvious reasons. The old building had historical, aesthetic, and cultural value to the town, but also because banes lurk in the shadows. You're going to have to monitor this site for Fomori infestation. But what about Lucinda? Since you're not sure, you should just text her. You ask one of the angry locals and learn the exact location of their new atelier on Rosemary Street. Unfortunately, the little slum is still a mess after the police riot. While Lucinda is looking at other places, everywhere else is too expensive. You might have to help Rosemary Street rebuild before you can benefit from Lucinda's instructions. Well, I tried. I did a little bit. I helped a little bit. Okay. Oh, No, I already did this GRC media thing. Oh dear. I spend considerable money and time restoring Rosemary Street. Can I do that? Can I? Rosemary Street's condition is so catastrophic that it's suffering potentially fatal pressure from 2 directions. First, even though the spirit wilds are secure, the slum gods have limited control over actual people, and the criminals of Rosemary Street have grown organized and aggressive. Second, developers have noticed Rosemary Street, and a company that's gentrification, done contracting work with Huvud Development, is considering a full bulldozing and redevelopment operation. Awesome. But I did it, right? I helped. And now I can visit Lucinda at her studio. Look at me. She's the only person I have, and I have 8 days that I can spend with her. I should up my intelligence, but I tell you what, I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. But I will up my composure, because I want to. I have no dots in academics or computers. Alright. Alright. I got Podge for that, though, don't I? Whatever. I'm upping up my composure. Whatever. And my persuasion to go along with my 1 charisma, because that sounds funny. That sounds hilarious. Okay, cool. No charisma, but 3 dots in persuasion. That's funny. Alright. I don't think I have anything I can do at the barrels. Ooh, I have glory. I devote myself to Greynell for 3 nights of glory and enhance my battle skills. Yes, please. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. That's so nice of you. Look at me. I'm getting better at nothing. All right. I want more information on the cult of Fenris. Can I figure it out now? When you mention the cult to Podge over a romantic breakfast date, extra fruit cups and cloth napkins one morning, he agrees that it's time to make sure they don't repeat their assault on the woods. Melody, Podge tells you, has been meaning to scout the borderlands separating the barrows and the woods to make sure Fenris shades haven't encroached upon the resting places of the honored dead. After a flurry of messages carried by Elton's Stormcrows, everyone agrees to meet up at the barrows and pool what they know. So you, Elton, and Podge spend a grueling day of clearing stones from the river that flows below the old temple. Then you help Melody convince one of her living relatives to loan you earth moving equipment. Earth moving equipment, okay. The irony of driving a bunch of earth movers to the barrows after the cult of Fenris invaded your forest with the same machinery is not lost on you. Podge has the time of his life wearing a hard hat and driving an excavator around. You wonder where Nin is. But you're not here to watch Podge blow very slow donuts in a field. You're here for the cult of Fenris, and as you swap stories, you all realize that their behavior doesn't appear to make sense. Half of Huddy development is building McMansions for Heinrich's human army, a mud-covered Melody says as you picnic after a long morning of clearing wreckage. And that half has connections to the expanded Provincial Council Disbursement Committee, which owns our cairn. Fucking ex-pro co-discom, Podge says. Jesus Christ. That's what they're called? Patrick is employing humor to hide his insecurity, Melody says. They actually don't have a name, just a bunch of slush funds and routing numbers, Podge says. It's all wildly corrupt, of course. Half the town's millionaires are dipping their beaks in the disbursement funds, but most of it goes to whatever they're doing at the heart of the can. But here's where it gets weird. Ex-pro co-discom's money is going to Huddy development, but the cult of Fenris has also been attacking the companies that are at work around the can. You still need to try and approach the cairn again. Maybe you could surprise a cultist who's also stalking around there. Nin found some kind of battlefield, or at least a massacre site, Melody says. She gestures to Nin, who has finally appeared. She's in Hispo form. A truck on a side road near her forest. Looted, driver probably dead, but no evidence of a body, only blood. Big claw marks on the metal, and it wasn't any of us. And my Stormcrows and I have been watching the borders of our territory. No other werewolves are moving through our area, Elton adds. The cult of Fenris are responsible. It has to be them. Manifest included metalworking equipment, destination, an unnamed road in our cairn, Melody says. So is the cult of Fenris attacking Eater of Names? Can we work with them? I don't want to, but it's a fair question. Can we work with them and then betray them and murder them? Melody snarls around her chicken wing. I don't think Sierra is suggesting that we help the cult of Fenris with their political project, Elton says quickly. We're short on manpower, Podge says, and we're short on weapons. Let's use the cult as a weapon. Let's use it as a missile. Feed them intel and shoot them right into the heart of the can, at Eater of Names. If they win, we win, and if they die, we win a little bit less, but we still win. Working with the cult of Fenris, Melody says, is exactly like working with a Bane and thinking you can fight fire with fire. It never works. You just burn. Even if we can't find a way to exploit the cult, Elton says, trying to de-escalate before the Philodox loses her cool, we need to figure out what they're doing, what motivates them. Why are they attacking Eater of Names transports one week and collaborating with the security force Neo-Albion the next? Shit doesn't make sense, Podge says, nodding. Right, and I want to know why, Elton says. Let's follow those trucks, see if the cult attack them again. The five of you organize a schedule to monitor the trucks. You'll have to squeeze that in around everything else, maintaining your territory, oh Jesus, watching the cult of Fenris and GRC media, performing chiminage, and working a straight job. You're all starting to feel the strain. Let's do it. Let's do it. You spend 10 days straight slammed. Oh, great. Welcome back to the WTF arc. Oh my god. You spend 10 days straight slammed at Gorski Manor after several local nursing homes unexpectedly shut down due to inspections from the Provincial Council Department of Elder Care. It seems like Mr. Gorski alone managed to pay them off, and now the hallways are flooded with gurneys as he collects his money, and you're dragooned into nursing work. Melody stays busy looking into the unexpected shuttering of so many facilities. She finally drops a lead on you as the work slows down for a few days. The Philodox reports that Chemicon, the company downriver in Holyoke, has been buying real estate to convert into landfills. You and Melody spend the day researching Chemicon at the library. By the time they throw you out, you're so tired that you don't want to drag yourself all the way back up to the Beninsky estate. Melody tells you to crash in the radio station office. Linus, deed name Knife Eyes, used to stay there before he died at the Battle of Graves Farm. An old safe house, reasonably secure despite its proximity to an active radio station with DJs and guests constantly arriving and departing. It's still guarded by some of the spirits loyal to the slain Ragabash. You don't know why Fox lingers, but it's his nature to hide a Garu's tracks, and you or some of the other Garus sometimes crash at the radio station when you feel too many eyes on you. You check the place out, and it seems pretty secure. Exhausted, you soon fall asleep, thinking about Chemicon and the cult of Fenris. The radio station is also next to Cavaletti to Go, so the next morning you roll out of your makeshift nest of old band t-shirts and stumble next door to shovel cold pizza into your gob and wash it down with a plastic tumbler full of last night's Pepsi. Breakfast of champions. You wave to the DJ as he puts up a poster, and you step outside into blinding sunlight. Your investigation last night gave you a name and a logo to look for as you monitor trucks around town. It's time to grab one of your packmates and see if any of these Chemicon trucks are vanishing into the areas you can't access. I think we haven't spent a lot of time with Elton. We've spent time with Melody, with Nin, and with Podge because we're dating him. So let's spend time with Elton. Even though Elton's probably my least favorite of the packmates, I think he's still our friend. And he has a dead wife, and we should feel bad for him. So let's do it. You and Elton shake down some petty gangsters for a few nights until someone finally tells you something useful about Chemicon. They recently forced the shutdown of a small packaging plant in Florence, and they're just using that as a loading bay for their truck fleet. The two of you bike to Florence and spot a truck just as it's getting ready to roll out. No time to waste, Elton says. He wraps the loading bay in shadow so no one interrupts you as you open up the trailer. You both hop inside. Your camera flashlights reveal plastic wrap pallets full of metal girders. You have no idea what these are used to build. You take photos anyway. My shadow spirit will let us just walk out when the door opens, Elton says. We'll take pictures, then I'll send a Stormcrow to alert Melody. Is there any way to see out of this thing? No, but I'm getting a signal, you say. The truck accelerates. You follow your route on your phone's map program. That's when the truck slams on its brakes. You feel a nauseating moment of weightlessness, then your whole world topples onto its side. You smack into the side of the trailer, which is now the floor, losing a tooth in the process. Oh my god. You sit up and spit blood, then shake your head, clearing it. Beside you, Elton groans and gets up. He doesn't look badly hurt, though, so you clamber over smashed pallets to the door. It's jammed, but you could probably force it with some work. A huge claw rips through the metal wall in front of you, tearing it like tinfoil. You catch a glimpse of burning red eyes and hear someone screaming outside. The claw strikes again, laying the trailer open like a gutted fish. Fangs gleam in the dim moonlight that illuminates the backwoods road. Whoopsie-doopsie. That's when Elton grabs a crowbar and sticks it into the big mouth outside. It disappears instantly, snarling frantically as the crowbar keeps its mouth open. You both crawl out of the ruined trailer. Well, this is simply ridiculous, the Theurge declares as your attacker finally uses his clawed hands to rip the crowbar out, mangling his cheeks in the process. Two werewolves, both in their direwolf forms. You know Roland, the shaggy, bearded cultist, has dragged the driver out of the cab and killed him, but you don't recognize the other werewolf as he licks bloody lips, his scratches already regenerating. Elton caught this newcomer off guard with a trick, but you don't think he'll repeat that mistake. A big silver-gray wolf, he circles Elton, snarling faintly as the air starts to smell like ozone and Elton's ring gleams. His talons are red as fresh blood and 9 inches long like a cave bear's. Ooh, shit! Where are Heinrich and Vindlerson? I don't want them sneaking up on us. You don't see them, but you scan the tree line. The two cultists move to flank you, hackles raised, teeth bared. Elton wraps himself in his cloak of shadows. Static electricity sizzles in the cool night air. The cultists both freeze. Roland, because he knows what Elton can do, and the new cultist, you think, because he's not sure what sort of threat he's facing. He might think Elton is a warlock. A siren cuts through the night air. The new cultist's ears perk up. Police. You both step away from the ruin the cultists have made of the truck. Roland leaps into the trees and vanishes. The new cultist regards both of you for a moment as if still eager for a fight, but when the police lights turn the treetops red and blue, he follows Roland. You and Elton climb up through the scree? What's a scree? On the far side of the road, seconds before 2 police cars scream to a halt. Those fools, Elton snaps. He drives his fist through a rotten tree, then wrenches it out. The dead sapling topples. It's been hours. You've been scouting the winter woods all night, surrounded by a cloud of storm crows that have searched the land from above, trying to find where the truck would have gone. But it's hopeless. If they were willing servants of the worm, they wouldn't do more damage to our work here. We've been trying to follow those trucks for months, and they've ruined Chemicon. What? We've been trying to follow those trucks for months, and they've ruined. Ruined. There's a word missing from the sentence. I'm not sure which word it is. Chemicon won't repeat this mistake. We're back to square one. You check your phone again. The truck got on the highway heading north. Had it turned left, it would have gone towards Graves Farm and the Broadbrook Cairn, but it went right over a bridge you don't often use to the far side of the Connecticut River. You're in Amherst right now. It's well past midnight before you roll into Northampton and stop at the radio station again, because Elton wants, Cavaletti to go. And if you pretend to work at the station, they sometimes give you free pizza. While waiting outside Linus's old office, you spot the hog throne poster from the last show you saw, the one where Nomi's sometimes roommates set off the sprinklers during Nin's power pop cover of Leonard Cohen's The Partisan. Everyone freaked out because word got out that fascists tried to burn down the Hadley show last year. Hogthrone has been serious about keeping out the Cult of Fenris, even though the directors don't really know what the Cult of Fenris is. You wonder if there might be trouble at the next show. Though the pizza is good, you and Elton are frustrated. Even if you could leave aside the violence, the attacks on civilians, the literal murder, the theft of your land, and the explicit ties to white nationalists, the Cult of Fenris is terrible at its job. That new guy has just ruined your best chance at learning what Chemicon is doing in Northampton and Amherst. On the other hand, you did take some pictures, and Chemicon's physical location is public knowledge. It's just a factory and some outlying facilities located a few hours downriver in Lupusform, south of Holyoke. And there's this new cultist, troubling but also a potentially useful lead. You feel like you're close to a breakthrough. I would love that I would be that. I don't know which is the one that will let me, move on with the story. Because I'd like to move on with the story. Despite a lack of, so I picked talking about Daphne again. Despite a lack of hard evidence, Podge has been suspicious of GRC media for months, and Daphne Clear's eerie silence hasn't improved your other packmates' estimation of her company. You meet your packmates individually and in person, letting them all know that it's time for a serious, aggressive investigation of GRC media and the glasswalker who runs it. You tell Podge first, since he lives down the hall from you and he's clever, knowing that Miss Clear has already noticed the drop-off in telecommunications. He plans to conduct internet research on GRC media that's intentionally ineffective. Miss Clear already knows Podge doesn't trust her, but the Arun plans to make it look like he's conducting the investigation on his own against the wishes of the rest of the pack. Give me a week like that, Podge says, and the rest of you can start digging around when she lets a god down. All this week, as Podge has worked to distract Daphne Clear, you've made plans to take him out to see a band Trevor recommended, but just before you're set to go, Ernesto calls you in a panic. Part of Gorski Manor's basement has collapsed. Great. He can't raise anyone else, and you're not that far from the care center, so you bike on over. When you get there, 2 municipal police cars are parked out front, lights on. They're preventing an ambulance from approaching for some reason. It looks like they've already arrested an EMT. Well, that's not your problem. You walk past the cops into the unlit lobby as Gorski is on emergency backup power and downstairs to what is definitely one of the bigger craters you've seen in your life. It stopped spreading, Ernesto says, staring down at the hole in the basement. I'm going to make some calls, Mr. Gorski says. He's put in a rare personal appearance, and he doesn't look happy. Does he look like a vampire? Because he is one. Dressed like a subdued and penitent Austin Powers, Mr. Gorski prowls the periphery of the hole as if he can see right down into the center of the earth. You wish he'd go away so you could conduct your own investigation just to make sure nothing of the worm is about to crawl out of that hole, but nothing seems to be happening, and the damage is beyond your ability to fix. Just as you step back outside, past what are now 6 police officers who have arrested several more EMTs, you spot me on the branch of a dead tree. It's spreading, Sierra. I have tried to fix the mistakes we made at the Battle of Graves Farm, but it's like placing a Band-Aid over a gaping wound. The blood keeps seeping out. People are getting sick and disappearing. There are rumors of a second plague moving through the valley. Will Northampton be ground zero for the next pandemic? Even I do not know. Then give me a direction, Stormcat. Give me information I can use. I spent some time at a Buddhist monastery once. Stop rolling your eyes. This digression has a point. The Buddhists are interesting as they are entirely happy to entertain the assumption that all things potentially have the Buddha nature. They've converted quite a few gods, you know, and the abbot there told me that he never revealed the whole truth all at once, even to a god, because it would lead them down the wrong path. That was the Buddha's great revelation, he said, that you had to mislead in order to lead. And you believed him, you ask? Not really. I've encountered plenty of humans in Garu who believe that they're wise enough to justify lying to my face. I've always made them pay. But enough about my potential for wrath. You want a direction, or you think you do. So you're going to give me an answer and help us investigate GRC media, or make me jump through hoops? I respect your straightforward approach, Sierra. Though please try to understand that to me, going from cause to effect looks like a mad snarl. It looks like chaos. I am not like you. But let me try to answer your curiosity in a straightforward fashion, though it strains against my nature. If you want the truth about GRC media and your own role here, meet me at the banks of the river, below where you first crossed over to seek David Beninsky. But don't expect an easy time. Patrick Hodge is right that we must deal with GRC media one way or another. And when Miss Clear feels you moving against her, she will act. Alright, let's quickly check out the new cultist. Let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. You try to wrangle up a helper, because I see the GRC media is where we move on to the next chapter. You try to wrangle up a helper like Elton when you investigated the truck, but everyone else is busy. Melody is dealing with some kind of dispute among the honored dead. Nin is monitoring the protests in the forest for potential allies, and both Elton and Podge are researching Chemicon. So you head to Rosemary Street on your own. Well, you also have Owl. And with her help, you follow a trail of occult graffiti, half-invisible spirits, and Fenris marks until you find yourself in a filthy and rundown gallery. A place that might have been charming once, but now feels like a hoarder's garage. You're here for a reason, and when you ask the proprietor about the backstock, he glares at you for a second. But he waves you back to an even more cramped and filthy space where a woman you remember from Giselle's house stands among the filthy books, scanning the volumes. The dust has turned her white shawl gray. She adjusts her gold-rimmed glasses and looks you up and down, apparently unimpressed. These monsters are going to kill her one day, the old woman says in her prim and antiquated New England accent. She's too proud to realize they're moving against her. You mean Giselle, you say. She has not finished her work, the old woman says. Hasn't really even started it. But what is her work? She's going to fix Jesus Christ. Oh, God, the woman says. Uh-huh, you say. For centuries, the old woman says, we have sought to strip Christianity of its corruption, of its weakness. Great. To bring the war to Satan, the one you call the worm. But our every effort gets drowned in lying words. Giselle can slice through that filth, can restore the true religion. Are you trying to tell me that Giselle's a celestial chorister? That seems odd. She has some strange allies, you say, trying to get this woman back on the subject of the cult. Demons and monsters, she says. Pagans who revere a wolf-headed god. Pathetic. Where are they? You ask. You need to get her away from them, the woman says. She's too important. Giselle thought she could work with Heinrich, but he's fallen in the esteem of his savage companions. You say nothing. Amherst, she says. Somewhere near Hampshire College. I don't know any more than that. There's a kind of power there that... Her hard, mean eyes go vague. You've seen the long-term effects of the delirium before. It's like her brain slips a bike gear or restarts like a laptop after a bad crash. Unless you're here to buy or sell something, I'm going to have to ask you to leave, she says. You leave because you realize you might have everything you need. The cult is near Hampshire College in Amherst. Hogthrone is going to play at Hampshire College. Hogthrone is pushing back against the cult's mortal accolades. You bet the cult will be there at the show. You need to get there. Okay. So now we have the choice. All right, let's try to reach the cairn again. Do that last, and then we'll choose between the cult and GRC media. You need to go back. You patrol the edges of Broadbrook, getting as close as you can from the 3 spiritually heightened areas around the cairn site. Days and nights pass, days at Gorski Manor so you can pay to maintain the tumble-down estate, nights of relentless patrol and testing. Occasional distractions, shows at Hogthrone in the basement, dumpster diving with Podge to find old computer treasures among the dross, peaceful hours spent in coffee shops with books, and with just enough money in your pockets that you can linger over a drink and they won't throw you out. But you still feel the rage inside you, an itch, a dull ache like a rotten tooth in your heart. You keep pushing, probing, and one bitterly cold night, as you patrol the edges of the old cairn in your lupus form, you find a way in. That's what you've sought since your first attempt to reach the cairn dumped you on Rosemary Street, and the sudden appearance of a path leading from Sunoco Station right into the heart of Broadbrook's old territory feels like a trick. Oh my god! You approach cautiously, ears flat against your head, steps hesitant over frozen ruts caused by heavy machinery. You see the lights first. They illuminate the ruins of an old farmstead, crooked gambrels and old stone walls, barns rotting from neglect, and old gardens gone to seed, everything covered in ice and snow. Orange plastic fencing and construction equipment indicate plans for expansion, and the armed patrols on foot or snowmobiles tell you that you're not supposed to see this. The guards look like Neo Albion, but you can't be sure. A pop-up Quonset hut serves as a temporary base of operations, but there are obvious plans to expand. I bet that Quonset hut has information about what's happening here. Is there a way to reach it? Whoa. You've gotten pretty good at Splinter Cell shit since your first change, and in Lupus form you should be able to circle around the guards and reach the hut. I can't believe it, there's a path into the cairn! You start your approach by circling through the woods. Your path through the woods takes you to a recent battlefield. You know what you're looking at immediately. Werewolves fought here, and not too long ago. Claw marks on trees, shredded scraps of military fatigues, a huge lupine footprint in the frozen mud. This wasn't your pack, so who else could it be? Did the Cult of Fenris launch an attack? You search for abandoned equipment, but only find a small piece of metal. No rust, you note, that reads Hemi. Hemi? The rest is torn away. The metal is between a dog tag and a license plate in thickness. Maybe some sort of machinery? With your owl-blessed eyes, you scan the near umbra, but you don't feel any echoes of werewolf gifts or rites. You continue your circle, then freeze, oh no, when a branch falls out of a nearby tree. You look up and spot a wolf moving through the branches like a squirrel. It's Roland. You recognize that beard that he wears, even in Lupus form. Yay. It's back, someone shouts. You drop as a rifle shot cracks. You crawl through brush, trying to track the cultist, but he's gone. Guards scramble as an officer shouts for discipline. More gunfire and a scream. Crap. Let's try and sneak past the guards. I don't want to let Roland go. I want to kill him. I want to get him. I understand he was like trying to stop Heinrich or Vindlason, one of them, from like destroying the forest, but he's still an asshole, so I want to kill him. You move fast and stay low, circling all the way around the encampment as the fight rages. It's over by the time you finish your circle, eerily quiet. Moving cautiously because you don't want to get ambushed by a guard, and you especially don't want Roland to drop on you from a branch and tear your spine out, you inch toward the farmstead. But something is wrong. You don't recognize this patch of woods. Oh, good. Trees rise in every direction. You range back and forth, but it's like the forest has swallowed up the farmstead. And when you go back the other way, you can't find the battlefield anymore either. You listen for snowmobiles, but you hear only the howl of the night wind. Roland is gone too. You're a competent tracker, but he must have stuck to the treetops since you can't find any prints. All you know is that he just screwed up your investigation. You need to let your packmates know what's going on. Yeah, let's ask Nin for help, because I think Nin would be the best at tracking. Nin's Song of the Moon Path should let me travel to our destination and learn what's going on. Boom. Nin is playing an acoustic set at an upscale bistro the night after next. After you cop a free meal, you explain the situation. You're heading back the way you came in Lupus form an hour before midnight, but though Nin calls upon her whippoorwill gift and a melodic howl rolls across the winter forest, no path opens. Oh, ha ha ha. Fucked it up. Whoopsie-doo. You can't find the farmstead or the battlefield. No sign of Roland either. Once again, you're hedged out of the cairn. Once again, you suck, Sierra. Nin wants you to try to contact some of the spirits here, so you leave her and make sure all the others know about your strange experience. A few days later, Melody tracks you down at Gorski Manor with the closest thing anyone has found to a lead. Lucinda's cousin's rabbi's former roommate looked up some development permits for me, she says as you check the pipes to make sure none have frozen. I found your Hemi, Melody says, returning the scrap of metal you found at the battlefield site. It's not from a Chrysler Hemi engine, it's Chemicon. Oh yeah, Hemi. Chemi. According to a friend of Podge's at Collective Copies, it's not Chemicon's normal typeface. They only use this font for Chemicon Constantilos. Their formerly defunct, now active again, banking branch.
Guess what? Someone from the expanded provincial council also sits on the board of Chemicon Constantalos, and he's linked to a holding company that owns the land in Northampton and Williamsburg. Our land. The council owns our cairn. Who's on the council, you ask? Doesn't matter, Melody says. A guy named Jerry also owns some restaurants around town. Podge investigated him, but decided he wasn't even worth killing. And you know how Podge is. Jerry doesn't matter. Kill him and some guy named Larry or Bob or Jed will take his place. It's Eater of Names. He's behind the council. He's the one who owns our cairn. Through all these shells and fronts. Look at this. She hands you a physical printout listing when Chemicon Constantalos returned to activity. The Monday after Eater of Names' resurrection at Esther's restaurant. The first order of business, funding Huddy development to start construction in the woods. Your woods. That Black Spiral dancer washed in saliva out of his bite wounds and got right to work, Melody says as she prepares to leave. But something is weird. I keep thinking about that Quonset hut you found. Neo-Albion scared of the cult of Fenris, some kind of infighting. There's a split in Eater of Names' followers, like they drifted apart ideologically in the time he spent in the dirt. We can use that, we just have to figure out how. But what is he doing? You start to ask, but the Philodox is already gone. So Eater of Names is probably building something on the cairn, but is he working with Huddy development or against them? All right, so it's time to deal with the cult one way or another. We're going to Hog Throne show or begin our fight against GRC Media. I meet Stormcat at the riverbank. I want to go against GRC Media because I would really like to know if Daphne is an ally or if Daphne is an enemy. I'd like to get that out of the way because we know that the cult is an enemy. We know that they're assholes, but I'd like to know if we also have to kill a Garu. Not that the Black Spiral dancers aren't technically Garu, but you know what I mean. Boom. I'm ready. So ready. I hope it saved me. I do too, Matter. Wait, wrong Jerry. It's Mud Month, not spring, whatever it says on the calendar. Spring is flowers and warm breeze and people who aren't werewolves complaining about pollen counts. Mud Month is ruts, cracked asphalt, cold rain, and the melting snow revealing everything that died over the winter. The smell of rot worse than autumn. Chipmunks, possums, parts of dogs, and these things down by the river. They're everywhere, the beach things, all up and down the Connecticut River, on the Northampton side and across the river in Hadley, broken on the rocks, mostly dead. A few still quiver. Maybe they're trying to breathe. Unrecognizable organic wreckage. Your brain says jellyfish, but they're just tangles of slime. They look burst, like the transition to this level of atmospheric pressure ruptured them. It's hard to make sense of their silhouettes when they're so tangled in the trash. Heaps of garbage, old and new, orange or black netting, plastic six-pack rings, barnacle-encrusted motors, and washing machines, unguessable chunks and heaps, styrofoam bobs in the shallows among oil-slimed rocks, iridescent in the diffuse gray light of a cloudy morning that threatens rain. And this isn't the ocean. The Connecticut River is broad here, with 2 bridges stretching above you, but still fast-moving. And of course there are no tides. The sudden appearance of all this trash, all this organic ruin, makes no natural sense. Despite that, there's almost no media interest. Before coming here, you logged a single article on Mass Live and a brief video segment on WWLP television. Nomi has been busy, of course, logging article after article, complete with increasingly wild speculation, but they're the only one paying attention. Nothing from GRC Media. If regular humans notice this, it risks a spike in occult activity, and that risks Bane possession. We need to clean it up, obviously. It's trash. When you were just a pup, you assumed the veil existed to protect Garu from the Abraham Van Helsings of the world. But the closest you've come to encountering organized monster hunters is Neo-Albion, and their anti-werewolf task force constitutes only a small part of their activities, and a generally ineffectual part given how dangerous a Garu in Krynos form is to humans, both physically and psychologically. No, the veil exists because, to borrow the language of an earlier time, there really are some things man was not meant to know. Humans who learn about the spirit world and who don't already have a cultural framework for understanding it open themselves up to Bane possession. Or worse, they start messing around with spirits, learn just enough occult tricks to make themselves dangerous, and then get possessed by Banes. You're going to need to tell others and get everyone down here to investigate the local Umbra, so you can determine how much of a mess this is. That's when a cold wind gusts down from the mountains and the oily water ripples. Striations of light and shadow, wave and reflection move across the water, and in your mind's eye they become stripes gliding across the world. A hypnotic pattern formed of nothing, just echoes and insinuations, an unreal thing making itself known in the world of the real. It's beautiful, isn't it? The man beside you asks. The answering tiger. Chapter 8. Threnody for gigabytes. That's a word. Threnody for gigabytes. Where I live, all is nightmare. Thus a certain nonchalance. Thomas Ligotti, The Mystics of Muhlenberg. Ba-boom. We're at chapter 8, I believe that said. Good lord. All right, so that is where I'm going to stop because I'm dying. My voice is dying for the weekend. Next weekend, I will continue Book of Hungry Names for Thursday and Friday. Will be continue, and then there'll be a pause on it because we will be playing Werewolf the Apocalypse Purgatory is being released on the 23rd, I believe, of July, and we're going to be going through that. I don't think it will take us nearly as long as it's taking me to get through Book of Hungry Names, but I hope you're excited for it anyway. Thank you so much for joining for my ramblings and my ineffectual werewolfing, and I hope you have an amazing weekend, and I hope to see you on Thursday. Thank you so much, everybody. You are all the best.